The moment you switch on the TV or flip through the newspapers these days, you would have bound to have noticed highlights or news channels bragging about who won the match, who scored how much, and how amazing IPL is. But did you know that at the same time, the Indian women's cricket team was playing the T20 World Cup in New Zealand? It won't be surprising if this is brand new news to many of you. In India, men's sports occupies the top rug when it comes to accessibility, investment, participation, broadcasting, and even promotion. A patriarchal society looks at women, and in this case, women in sports, with an unequal lens. Women in sports are still a rarity in India, not because they can't, but because they aren't allowed to. There are many socio-cultural-financial factors that play a huge role in shrugging off women in sports and their games. In this FII Reports video, we look closely into why women's sports is still not mainstream in India. Social and cultural barriers. Women's cricket team, Women's World Cup, Women's hockey team, as opposed to Indian cricket team, Cricket World Cup, and Indian hockey team for the men's events and the men's sports. These are some terms that we are all familiar with and might even seem normal. In sports, much like most professions, the term women comes through as a mandatory usage when referring to women's events, sports, tournaments, sportspersons, politicians, etc. This use of language has a much larger cultural significance. The patriarchal Indian society perceives women as passive participants in the society. It is the same mindset that believes and propagates that women's place is within the house and not outside. For women in sports, the first barrier they face is this before they can even access the resources and opportunities that are available to men. It's 2022, and despite several technological, economic, social, and digital progress, we continue to harbor sexist beliefs that are detrimental to the extent of sportswomen not getting the resources they deserve. Furthermore, for sportswomen who make it to the arena and compete, the focus quickly shifts from their game and performance to their personal lives, how they look, and their marriage and pregnancy plans.
When is Sania going to settle down? Is it going to be in Dubai? Is it going to be in any other country? What about motherhood? Building a family? I don't see that in the book. It seems that you don't want to retire just yet to settle down.
Organized sports and sporting events and the entire sports ecosystem for that matter is pumped up with this hyper-masculine ideals. Hence, the idea that women in sports cannot exist solely on their own talent continues to sideline several women. Lack of resources and investment. While states like Odisha have stepped up to provide resources and support to athletes at the grassroots level, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to women's sports. Recognition only comes when there is a number next to the medal tally, and for women, it is but momentary.
हाँ, हमारा एक्चुअली टैलेंट है ना, वो मतलब जहाँ 100 मिल सकते हैं वहाँ 1-2 मिल रहा है.
A stark example of this gap is visible when we look at cricket in India. In India, men who take up cricket know what they have to do to end up playing for the country. They start off with playing school cricket, university cricket, club cricket, under 14 matches, under 16 matches, under 19, and then the IPL. However, the situation is not the same for women. These same pathways don't exist or aren't clear. They usually play just under 16 matches, in some states, under 19, and then state matches. And if they're good, they get picked up for the national team. The root of the problem isn't that women aren't getting paid as much as the men. It is the lack of foundation that they have to build from to capitalize on their talent. Media, marketing, and broadcast angle. As per a report released by international research from YouGov in 2021, women's sport is currently less popular than men's sport globally. The report found that the global public is almost twice as likely to watch men's sporting events as women's. According to the report, for most people around the world, the reasons they do not currently engage in women's sports are related to their lower overall profile. Specifically, the lack of media coverage rather than the game itself. 30% of respondents of the research said that one of the key reasons for them to not engage with women's sport is the lack of marketing for women's sports. While 27% of people globally claimed it was difficult to find women's games to watch. In fact, almost 59% of the fans in India said that they would watch more women's sports on television if it was available. This data points towards the fact that the reason for sustained disinterest in women's sports and it being kept out of the mainstream is the result of a lack of media coverage, investment, broadcasting, and marketing. Furthermore, there's a major lack of promotion when it comes to women's events. If you scroll through an average channel list, the media coverage of men's sport is on 90 to 95% of the times, more than anything else. The larger underlying idea here is that women don't understand sports. Many people have argued that the low coverage of women's sports is a result of a lack of interest in watching it. But the interest can only be developed with wider coverage and marketing, which is heavily falling short. The tendency to promote men's sports is a systemic issue. Work needs to be done at the policy level that ensures equity for men and women's sports. There are few people who are willing to invest in women's sports. One of the biggest examples of that in India is that $1 billion league like the Indian Premier League has been around and flourishing since 2008. But it is only now that talks of a women's IPL has entered the foray, and that too, it is still in its gestating phase, with an approximate date of 2023. Inclination needs to move away from looking at just the medal tallies and trophies to investing and generating interest from stakeholders at the grassroots level in women's sports. While events, award shows, one-off campaigns celebrating sportswomen are great initiatives to create awareness about women's sports, there needs to be a lot of work done in order to ensure an equitable, level playing field for all. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment and share. And don't forget to subscribe to Feminism in India for your dose of desi intersectional feminist content.